repeated it, it obviously didn't go down too well. And I have to say, I think it'll be the same for Dad's Army. You can't recreate something like that. It was unique. But that's another story. Likewise, Terry, I'm the same with the Rochester business. It needs a shake-up, and regardless of who does it, it definitely needs somebody to apply a large amount of boot to a rear end, and hopefully that will happen today. It's not before time. Interested in this VDA? I don't have Radcom because I'm not a member of the London Wireless Society, but that sounds interesting. I have toyed in the past with doing a very similar thing with a Moxon, a wire Moxon. You can do that quite easily with a Moxon, prepare it and get it going, but it always looked, I always thought that it would work, but to do it quickly would end up as being a bit of a mucky sort of installation. But this VDA sounds interesting. You must let me have some more details on that. I've got a couple of spare 30-foot poles here. That could be well worth looking at. No, that would be nice. Yeah, that would be very good indeed. But it's the old thing with stroke P aerials in that situation. They've got to be easy to put up and set up, which I don't think the Moxon would have been. If you did it as a permanent installation with on a vertical, it would be okay. And I know they work very well indeed. A friend of mine over in Cumbria made a Moxon for, I think it was 20 metres, but he did it very professionally. It was a lovely looking beast, but it wasn't easy to put up and take down. It was, took a bit of setting up. So the VDA sounds good. Well, you let me have the details, Terry. I might have a play with one of those myself. I think that's about it for this one. Hang on, just checking. Something just went beep on the computer, but I can't work out what it was, so I won't worry. OZ1W. I've got no recommendations about stopping paint dripping down the handle, Graham. You know, there's two things in life that I'm always very religious about. One is to read the manuals on equipment and logging programs, etc., and the other one is not to do any decorating. OZ1W, GI0HWO.
It was just Skype, John, beeping.
It was Skype beeping. Okay, GI0HWO, OZ1W. Just looking at the 20-metre cluster, actually, there's a lot of activity from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, French Polynesia, there we go. He's just worked a French station, Oscar 8, Alpha stroke portable on 14180. I might have a listen. Nice to work into the Pacific. Anyway, fine from everybody. By the way, I don't know if you presumably saw I don't know if you've had your emails running this morning, John, but there was some stuff from the 5 meg user group suggesting that regular nets should establish themselves on this frequency, then QSY to one of the other available channels. So that's the thought of somebody. As long as people don't QSY to 5403.5 or 5371.5 in the evenings when it's open for DX. And anyway, I think we're all quite comfortable here, and I don't think there's a huge amount of activity and other people striving for the frequency at the moment. Now, I haven't sent QSL cards for years, I'm afraid. I've got boxes and boxes of them here. I don't have any printed for OZ1QV or OZ1W, and I stopped being a member of the RSCB when it changed from being the bulletin. No, not quite, but I certainly haven't been a member since I've been here. Barry, by the way, G8HQJ was on his 422 this morning, John, and he was very, very loud running barefoot. And apparently he's not using the balance. I believe that some people get RF problems, presumably RF flowing on the outside of the coax, and I guess that's probably because the aerial is not symmetrical. I don't think it's balanced. I believe from what I've read that one element is longer than the other, which of course would cause the coax to run on the outside. But I gather he solved the problem, but he was certainly very, very loud indeed. So there we go. Painting ceilings. Well, in my next life, I will not become a decorator. That's for sure. I don't mind the painting itself, but the the preparation, the mess, the rubbing down, the filling, the plastering, the cementing, that's not my favourite occupation for sure. So if you've got the advice, Terry, because I know you're a bit of a deft hand at the DIY, then I'd be grateful. And if you are going to send details of that antenna to John, maybe you could copy me on it as well, because I'm also always interested in anything to do with aerial systems, and I've been contemplating trying to do something for this band actually. But at the moment, I don't think conditions are good enough to work it on a DX. I think, as you said, John, that it's all been quite dead when I've listened, and there was very little on this morning earlier on. I don't think there's been a huge amount of long-haul stuff been worked. G4POP and the group Oscar Zulu 1 Whiskey, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, G4POP in the group. That's, I'll just send in that. I'll send the link to you by email, Graham, as we speak. And I'll send the link to you, John, via Skype. So the link is not actually to the Ragchew article, it's actually to the article on which the author of Ragchew article based his assumptions and his construction. So it's a French French website, but it's quite authoritative. However, some of the measurements in the table leave a lot to be desired. Apparently, I will in due course copy the table for all the measurements and let you have them, both of you. So that's that. A painting. Yeah, well, I tend to use a roller or a painting pad on the end of a long pole, so I don't normally suffer that problem with the brush, but if you've got an irregular ceiling, I can't do that. What I used to do was, you know those disposable plastic gloves they have in the petrol station when you're filling up with diesel? I just put a couple of those on, and after I finished a session, I literally peel them off and they go straight in the bin and put a fresh set on when I want to start again. And that seems to do the trick until I've still got an overall on, so the plastic glove covers the cuff of the overall. I've still got some on the overalls, but that can't be helped. They look disgusting anyway. But no, I use a pad or a roller, generally speaking, but if I had to use a brush in that situation, that's what I used to do. The other comment was the Nano Kia. Had an interesting conversation with Steve, K1EL, last evening, John, about this Nano Kia. And, pardon me coughing. Apparently what happened, the history on that, is that a guy over there who wrote a Kia using the Arduino, or whatever they call it, platform, as a, this might be a good idea, let's try it. And he then added the Wind Kia emulation, and the documentation was supplied as well. But this is purely a sort of, for what the fun of it, for my use, and if you want to play, go away and build it yourself, like, which is quite okay with Steve. And he said, well, fine, as long as you give us a bit of credit, for the Wind Kia, then we're happy. But what eventually happened, apparently, is that another guy came along and started actually marketing this Nano Kia, which, of course, at the time was GNU, as open source, and that got right up Steve's nose. And the guy's been quite belligerent about it, and he's using all of the Wind Kia information. So he's really has upset Steve, and not quite doing it rightly. And it's basically a complete and utter copy of what is supplied by K1EL in the format of the keyboard Kia. So it's a bit of a nuisance, and I'm now sort of going to have a word with Lily about it. And I think that if we get anybody who's got a problem with one of those and look for them, I'm probably going to have to say I'm sorry, but we don't support it. And I think we found the problem with that serial Kia, by the way. The serial Kia returns a totally different answer when we talked to it, and we didn't realise this until a couple of nights ago. And it turns out it sends back a 25, which we weren't expecting. We were expecting sort of 1 or a 2 or a 2.3 or a 3 or something like that, but it sends back 25, which was outside the parameters we set. So we've changed the parameters, and we're waiting on the guy just testing it to make sure it's okay. But I think that was the cause of the serial version not working. So that's the story on that. Video looks very good. I certainly will build one. You only need, depends on which one you build, but about a 12 metre vertical part of it. the main fishing pole mast, and